Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. For this video, I'm going to go over how to do a print and cut that is a bigger size than your printer. So my standard size for my printer is 11 by 8.5 inches. And I am sublimating a Christmas pillow, and on the back side, I'm going to make it entirely plaid, which it ends up being 40 centimeters by 40 centimeters, which is way bigger than the standard print and cut size for my printer. So I'm going to show you guys how to sublimate a size this big with a standard size sublimation printer. You can do the same technique for basically any size sublimation project you need. But for this project, we're going to be doing a pillow, and it's going to be 40 centimeters by 40 centimeters. So first off, I have my design already made up and sized in Cricut Design Space. Then I make a square the size I can print and cut with my Cricut machine and printer. Once I've gotten the size, how big I can go with my print and cut, I put it over the pattern and I duplicate this square until I've covered up the entire pattern. Now it's very important to make sure that these squares don't overlap and they're lined up perfectly to get the perfect sublimation transfer on your sublimation blank. Once I've gotten all the design covered with these, we're going to start using the slice tool. But before we do that, there's a critical step in between covering up the design with squares and starting to slice this project to make sure that when I print it out and I go to sublimate it onto my sublimation blank, it comes out perfect the way I want. No, I don't want the design to not line up properly. I want it to be all aligned on the pillow. And I don't want to have white lines in between the different sections that I'm going to be printing. So once I've gotten all of these squares, I'm going to count how many squares I have. And for this design, it is 2 by 3, so a total of 6 squares. Now that is important for the next step. I have 6 squares, so I am going to select all 6 squares plus the design, and I'm going to duplicate it so that there's 6 of them. So I'll duplicate it 5 times, so there's a total of 6. Now I'm going to line it up just as the squares are on my design, and this will all make sense in a minute. Now, if your design is 2 by 4 or 2 by 2 or 8 by 2, you're going to want to duplicate it to the number of squares that you have and line them up as your squares show up on the design. For example, if it's a 2 by 2 design, you're going to duplicate it so there's four of them, and you're going to put them 2 by 2 on your Cricut Design Space, and you're going to follow the next steps the same. So once I have all 6 lined up, I am going to delete all the extra squares. I'm going to leave just 1 square for each design, and I'm going to make it that square position on the pattern. See the first row on the top, I'm going to make it the top corner, and right below it, I'm going to make it the corner piece below that one. The middle 2 pieces, I'm going to make it the top and middle pieces for the squares. And for the very last row, I'm going to make it the top and bottom corner on the end. Just like I'm showing you right here. This is how you want it to lay out. And this will make sure when you print it and you start cutting it and putting it all together, that the patterns will line up perfectly for when you go to sublimate, and you won't have any white gaps in your design. So once I have this part done, we're going to go into slicing it. Now, My design has 2 layers, so I'm going to slice each square in 2 steps. First, I'm going to do the solid red, and then I'm going to do the pattern as I'm about to show you. And then once I've done this for all 6 squares, I'm going to delete all the extra pieces, and then I'm going to flatten them. And once I have all of the pieces flattened and ready to go, then I'm going to go over and I'm going to hit make, and I'm going to start printing all of this out. And then I'm going to show you how to tape them together and line them all up so that you could go ahead and sublimate it, heat it onto your blank. Now, for this part of the project, what you're going to do is you're going to line them all up so that the pattern is all matching, so that you know how to connect them after you start cutting them all out. Now, as you're cutting them out, you want to slice one side all the way to the pattern so that there's no white there. And it's very important that you leave no white behind. And on the piece that conjoins to it, attaches to it, you want to leave a little bit of a white flap so that they'll overlap and you can have more of a secure joining them together. This takes a little bit of time to make sure that they're all attached properly and there's no white in between the patterns and that they're all lined up. So just take your time with this. Take your time cutting, take your time lining them up, and take your time taping it down so that when you go to heat it onto your sublimation blank, it will come out perfect just the way you want it.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him rule. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat, repeat the sounding joy. No more let sins and sorrows grow, nor thorns infest the ground. He comes to make his blessings flow, for as the curse is found, for as the curse is found, for as the curse is found. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove
So once you've gotten the whole pattern taped together, you're going to want to tape it securely to your sublimation blank. That way that it's right up against it. You get a good solid transfer. It's not lighter in patches. It doesn't move while you're heating it onto the sublimation blank. And for this pillow, I had to transfer it on in stages. I pressed it 4 times, one on each corner, so that I covered the entire pillow for this transfer. Now I think this came out beautifully. I just love the way it came out. The extra time it took me to make sure that I did this correctly was so worth it. And I did use this cardboard under the pillow to make sure it was solid and make sure that it stayed still. I hope that this tutorial helps you with being able to print with a bigger size than your printer, and you're able to create those sublimation projects that you want. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and happy crafting!